In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. I am Emanuel Rose, and today we're diving deep into the nuances of AI in content development, in healthcare, in answer engine optimization. And my guest today is Diane Hammons. She has an extensive experience across hospital systems, national insurers, and cloud technology firms. Diane knows firsthand the challenges and opportunities that digital transformation present in healthcare. As the leader of the AI Pathfinders at WG Content, she is dedicated to harnessing the potential of emerging technologies while navigating the strict regulations of the industry. Diane's ability to simplify complex AI concepts makes her an invaluable resource for those of us looking to understand the intersection of healthcare and technology. Welcome to the show, Diane.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time and looking forward to our conversation. What have you seen in the last 6 months about how AI has changed what you're doing at WG Content?
Gosh, 6 months, that's a big window. It's more what have I seen in the last week. But yeah, I would say in the last 6 months, at WG Content, the majority of our client base are in the healthcare space. And in the last 6 months, I think they've really woken up to that idea that it can't be ignored. And well, AI can't be ignored in a broad sense, but it definitely can't be ignored in terms of search. There's no disputing that those numbers keep going up in terms of, like the number of people using ChatGPT and other LLMs instead of Google. But also, gosh, just this week, it just seems more changes on the Google sphere too, where it seems you can see Google moving more and more towards AI.
It's true, and even to the point where those of us who are like on Google Workspaces are getting prospected by Google to be able to use Gemini to learn how to use Google agentification, and then even more technical things than that. But it's true that search is being massively impacted by the answer engines, and it's fascinating to see that change happen. What are you seeing kind of as the structure or the beginning point for your clients in terms of how you're recommending they should be preparing or changing their content strategy for engine optimization?
Yeah, that's a struggle, right? Because with Google, I mean, once you kind of crack the nut, you knew the magic recipe. It was algorithm based, so you had if I do this will be the result, and you could see those results right away, in those blue links. So this is a very different beast, and in some ways, it's going to sound controversial, but in some ways a little more human, ironically, perhaps. And that's because of that natural language processing, that it's attempting to hold conversations and work and speak in a human-like way. So that makes for a very different experience. So it's what are we seeing? Like many others that you may read about out there, we're seeing success with things like pulling key takeaways to the top of whether it's a website page or like a blog, but key takeaways, whatever you want to call them. But they're those, 3 or 4 bullets that cue humans, skimmers, but also AI. This is what the page is about. And that just becomes more and more important because it's coming through and it's looking and it wants to know clearly and definitively what's here and does it match the intent of the user that it's generating a response for. So things like that, things like we're starting to work with our clients in incorporating um, questions, at the end that could then feed into people also ask. I know you're nodding your head. Those are all those kind of the same tactics that a lot of us are exploring right now. Um, it's just that where you and I may have been seeing this shift for a little while, others are just awakening to them. So it's the idea that you might as well start incorporating it now. Don't wait and then have to pay this tremendous catch up, or it's probably going to be too late.
Yeah, I think I feel that as much as now as ever, that the potential to get leapfrogged, right, by
Mhm.
new entries into the market. And so
Right.
legacy businesses really, and by legacy, like anybody who's 5 years or older at this point, right,
Mhm. Mhm.
really have I have seen the demand on them to accelerate their adoption, and it doesn't have to be that we're going to fire everybody and put in bots to take
Right.
their place, but that we're in the space of strategic planning, that we're in the space of adding a chat bot, that we're
Mhm.
experimenting and getting some getting the team together that can even explore it and
Right.
help get it through the change management process inside the business, right?
Yeah, oh, change management for sure. It's that idea of, you're starting to see a few people who are showing interest on their own. And then
Right.
I hear some of that even outside of W2 content, but in some of those, AI spaces that I travel in.
Yeah.
And it's that, oh, I know I want to do this. I know it's important, but who am I and how am I going to get any kind of traction? So, I'm always encouraging people to, gosh, you could start a Pathfinders team, like I did. You don't really have to wait for permission to pull those sources together and just, kind of organically help your peers come along and get used to the idea.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that Pathfinders. I think that's a cool phrase. Uh, Assembling the people who are interested. Hopefully, there's from a few different departments, right? That's the
Mhm,
other part.
mhm.
Usually, you'll get somebody from IT who's already in the space, but then the rest of us from marketing, from finance, and then from the executive team, so that we can figure out kind of what the list of use cases are, and then
Right,
start to
right.
make an assessment process for use cases, and then I think the other part that's critical, and you mentioned it in your bio, was just about the compliance part, and that we have to have a governance policy in order to make sure that our not just that we're HIPAA compliant or SOC 2 compliant, but that we're
Mhm.
not just splashing the IP out into the world that we don't want anybody
Yeah.
else to know.
Right, right,
Right?
absolutely. I was on, ironically, I was at an AI and healthcare summit, and it was all, entrepreneurs, clinicians. It was more the clinical side of healthcare, attorneys. And, yeah, I mean, think of all that's happening in medicine, and there were some attorneys are still saying, like, "Don't put any," even if you think you have a closed AI model, do not put PHI there. There's just it's hard to come one mistake is gonna be hard to come back from, so,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Well, getting back to this idea of the answer engine optimization or generative engine
Mhm,
optimization, what you mentioned just the questions and answers, right? So, like just the FAQs, that's a great spot for
mhm.
people to start. What are some of the other starting places that you're recommending for your clients?
Yeah, well, everybody can apply this, but especially in healthcare, they have a unique opportunity also to really show, their authority. Um, we've been doing that EAT was already part of SEO tactics, with Google, but how do you give even more triggers? So, like in the healthcare space, thinking about if you have blogs, you have written by, make sure it's attributed to a real life person, but you also have the opportunity to say medically reviewed by. So
Oh,
here are
nice.
like
Yeah.
2 indicators now that really, signal authority and trust to
Yep.
humans and AI. So, we're starting to look at some of, things like that as well. And, things like FAQs, when we're saying FAQs, we're talking about putting, 2 or 3 at the end of a page, at the end of a blog, at the end of a press release, whatever it might be. And those continue the conversation. They're opportunities to link to other pages, and they also then can provide that really short summary that might be pulled into Google,
Yep.
as well as all the LLMs. But it's not, I think I just wanted to clarify because I think sometimes people hear FAQs and it's like, okay, I'm going to do an FAQ page, but you don't want a dumping ground. That would be ignored. That's counterintuitive. You want everything to be related. And that's why I say it's really applying that human mindset. Does a human want to parse through 50 FAQs? Probably not. They want the ones related to the content on the page that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point, and the human part of it, and then that's what's driving your ideal client
Mhm,
profile, and then
mhm,
to look and chart out that process that the human's going through to make decisions, and
mhm.
then to find spots to generate content for each of those stages, right?
Yes. And since you mentioned that, that's a perspective we're taking as well. It's think of AI as another target audience that you are considering as you're writing these things. Because I find it's still early, right, for many of us, and it's intimidating, and it sounds so scientific. So, I think as marketers are more on the social humanity side, it can feel like I don't get it. Um, but if you can just put it into a perspective that we all live and work in every day, it suddenly seems a lot less daunting. So, as you were just saying, you can think of AI as another target audience. I'm writing this piece, it needs to appeal to, I don't know, 40-year-old single women. At the same time, it needs to appeal to this AI persona. And you can treat it exactly like that so that you have kind of a picture in mind, a character in mind. Um, what are its, just like a person, what are its pain points? What are its goals? And it, so what are its pain points? Well, it hates um, unsupported claims. So that's why we're putting things like attributed, reviewed by. It hates, a lot of fluff. So keep it clear, keep it structured, keep it concise. Don't go. Not that you have to take all the marketing and the human element out of it. Storytelling's good. You just want to make sure you get to the point, and you can back it up because it also, once, like I said, it doesn't appreciate unsupported claims or outdated information. All of those kinds of things. You can just think of it as a person. That those are its pet peeves. And then you can think about too. You start to get into then. Okay, well, if it was a person, I have to also consider, well, who influences that person's decisions? If they're a healthcare consumer, retail consumer, well, who influences AI's decisions? For healthcare, where and you can just by doing visibility checks, you can start to get a sense by patterns what are coming up. Reddit, surprisingly, Wikipedia, but with healthcare, like Ratings MD, Health Grades, Vitals, those places where it's saying you made this claim, I'm going to go check it. I'm going to go fact check it.
Yeah,
Those
I
kind of
love
things.
that. And the other thing that is great about using it as its own persona is that you can
Mhm.
actually then go and ask ChatGPT, what should I be adding in to make this more
Yes.
accessible, right?
Yes.
So you always have that um, very obvious play, so you're not just guessing.
Mhm. Right. And then you can conversely, you could create, say, a custom GPT of that persona. So it's like, AI within AI, talking about AI. that you can continue to hit like you would any other persona and have it review content to see if it hits the mark or not before you go live. You can find those blind spots we have, those areas where it might play the skeptic. Want you to fill in more, support the information better, stronger.
Yeah, and also to be that kind of McKinsey consultant. So
Yes.
you got kind of an older, wiser support and asking you questions and asking you to find out more information. What are you finding out about in terms of your clients' interest in being on podcasts like you're doing right now? Talk to me a little bit about that.
About our clients, like where they're searching for their information, you mean?
No, are they interested in being on podcasts, and are you having some success with that kind of PR part of the podcasting?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have a not quite so formal, but even a variation at WG Content. And I've been on some with some of my partners in the healthcare space as well, where they've created their own podcast. Sometimes that's a health system, sometimes that's a healthcare marketing consultant. But yeah, absolutely, because it's a good format. It's a matter of finding the source. At least for me, I think about it as finding the source, like yourself, that brings the most content that relates to me on a weekly, monthly basis, because it's hard to follow them all.
Impossible.
There are many, and they all serve a different purpose. I mean, I don't say there are many like that's like there are too many. It's a matter of there's something for everyone. So you find the one that really strikes a chord with you, at least, especially when it comes to AI. That's how I think about it. Which one strikes a chord with me? Because I can't listen to all of them. So I pick my favorites.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. And I think AI, as much as any topic in my life, has created the most fatigue. Right, like there's so much news and information coming out, and then it is changing so rapidly. It is so difficult to stay up to date with. So, what are some of the other places where you're getting information where people are aggregating information about AI? Tell me about that.
Well, I just came back from MACON, the Marketing AI Institute conference.
Yeah,
Were
nice.
you there? Have you attended in the
I
past?
wasn't there this year, no, but yeah,
Okay.
that's an
Gosh,
amazing.
yeah, that's number one, right? For marketers, you should be going, or at least paying attention to Marketing AI Institute, listening to Paul Raitzer, following him on LinkedIn. He's a great source for aggregating, not just for marketers, but giving you a sense of AI in its entirety. And I think that's important. Um, just similar to, again, I keep putting everything back to, if you put it in your context of what you've been doing all along, as a marketer, I've always thought, okay, even if I'm in a healthcare space, doesn't mean I don't look to other verticals for inspiration. And it's the same. You
Absolutely.
can't like only focus on one part of AI. Gosh, see how other departments, other roles, other industries are using it, because that's where you find your inspiration. And that's where maybe something that seems pretty obtuse suddenly clicks also. So I appreciate that kind of broad sense that they bring to it, even though they're called Marketing AI Institute. Along those same lines, I also try to get involved in my local community. We have a really good monthly meetup, and it's the same where
With
you
humans, you actually spent some time with humans.
yes. I can ask AI about AI, but I'd much rather, talk to humans. What are you experiencing? You know, what have you found? What are your best practices or your ahas? And yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Well, okay. So tell me, let's see, where have you landed? Which LLM have you landed on, and what are you using primarily?
Well, it's going to seem very cliche, but ChatGPT. I mean, honestly, the interface works for me, the user experience, and it continues to give me those features that keep me in there. So I've
Yeah.
built many custom GPTs for myself and clients, and gosh, you can do that in some places, not in all of them. I'm starting to use projects. I love the Canvas feature that lets you edit in line. I mean, yeah, like I said, I go out to others sometimes just to get another perspective or to as a gut check, like, is this right? Is this hallucinating? To kind of get that kind of gut check. And then I'll go to Claude, Perplexity. I do that as well when we're just looking at visibility, trying to analyze how our company or our clients are showing up. But yeah, I keep coming back to the old workhorse. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean the same. We have some clients that are in the Google Workspace environment, so I spend a lot of time in Gemini and working on the gems, which are the corollary to custom GPTs.
Right.
And then I'm doing some work with the agents inside Gemini as well. But yeah, ChatGPT, it's that kind of first to market, and like you said, they continue to innovate and bring up like kind of that next they're baby stepping all the way in terms of their product releases, which and then you start to build that big library of custom GPTs that you're like, I can never leave because I don't
It's like, it knows me and it has my history, and I don't want to recreate somewhere else, but yeah.
That's funny. Well, Diane, I really appreciate your time this afternoon. And if people are interested in talking to you about marketing in general or marketing to medical, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, but also if you go to the WG Content webpage and check us out there, we our AI, specifically our AI features, are under the umbrella of WG Catalyst, and you can find that out there as well. And you'll find blogs from me and my colleagues out there, a lot about AI search and content strategy, a little bit about custom GPTs, but yeah, that would be the best way. I love connecting with people. I mean, that's how we all continue to learn. So do not hesitate to DM me on LinkedIn. I love to connect.
All right. Well, all your information will be in the show notes, so we'll make it easy for people. Really appreciate and I'm grateful for your time and your insights today. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. And if you hang on, I'll close this out and we'll say goodbye properly.
All right. It's been great.
Great. Thanks, Diane. Well, I hope you got some value in terms of thinking about answer engine optimization and how to create some content on page content summaries, FAQs on specific topics or blog posts. And again, keeping in mind that we're humans talking to humans using a machine to help us be more effective and tell better stories. Hope it's been a good use of your time. I appreciate you tuning in. Also hope that you spend some time this week researching ChatGPT or another LLM and find some ways for it to save some time for you, or some third-party tools that make your work life more effective. And with that time you save from those AI tools, that you spend it continuing to upskill, that you spend it with your friends and family, or that you get away from the screens and get outside in nature. This is Emanuel Rose, Marketing in the Age of AI.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.